I'm Nick Mason.
I'm Johnny Hollander.
And I'm Eric Hayden.
And this is Neon Static.
Yo guys.
I feel like it's been a while.
It's been a bit.
Hey, what episode is this? You normally start with
Oh
that.
shit.
Six?
Done fucked up.
Oh, we just earned our explicit tag real fast.
Yep.
I think it's episode 6. I'll confirm that real good.
One job.
It's how the people know that we're
One job.
edgy.
And all the other jobs.
Yeah,
It is
setting
episode
things up
7.
while we play Diablo.
Welcome to episode 7 of Neon Static. This is the show about the card game that is the best.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a really good
But can we
game.
actually,
very
can we
good.
talk about Diablo though?
Legit.
At the end of the episode, we can have a new segment that won't have cool intro music, and we'll come up with a name between now and then about what we're doing.
So what are we talking about?
Hi, Mythosbusters. We'll do a technical time. Do you guys listen? You don't, but hi if you do. I love your show.
Not desperate at all.
Be my friend. Podcasting is my desperate reach out into the void to make friends.
So this is a weird episode. I mean, weird in a good way. We're all sitting in the same room in a closet, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say a very small
I mean,
room.
it is a fancy closet, though, as far as closets go.
Mhm.
It's pretty
Yes,
nice.
it has wood grain on the wall, which is technically true, even though it's not made out of wood.
Mm.
It is the picture of wood grain.
Yeah, so I took a fairly large closet and put up like,
You don't have to brag about it.
What are these
It's
called?
a really big closet, guys.
I mean, as far as
cloths?
These are
Sheets?
drop cloths. Or not drop cloths,
Yeah,
no.
it's like
They're like background things for like photo.
a backdrop.
Backdrops.
Sheets?
That's it. That's the word I was looking for.
Sheets.
Backdrops.
Sheets.
It's a better word for it, Nick.
You could put these on your bed and sleep on
They're
them.
specific.
You could sleep on these. I bet those things are like 400 thread counts.
It's like polyester.
Oh, look at that.
They're soft, right?
Ah,
This is the
Luxurious.
biggest,
You
softest
just
wall
slide-
closet that you've ever been in.
Let's stay
you
on
just
topic.
slide all over. Anyway,
But anyways, my whole reason for saying this is we don't have we're not each sitting at a computer with the episode outline in front of us, and we have no idea what order we're supposed to do things in.
It is going to be the Wild West.
do we
and
still not have any idea what order we're supposed to do things in?
We
I'm
do
pretty
have-
sure that
we
is
do.
correct.
Guys, I got it. I'm a professional.
Okay, all right. Good thing
Eric's
somebody
been
is.
scribbling it down as he remembers it.
Yeah, you can read that.
Professionally. So I will post photos that I actually took earlier of Johnny's podcast space so you can see where we are sitting, and that'll be fun for everyone.
Everyone will love it. You must.
Should we get into things?
Yeah.
We have feedback that because I didn't prepare perfectly for this episode, we will be leaving for next episode. So we'll skip that part. And we're going straight into 24/7 news cycle. I guess I'm the one with notes, so I'm going to just do all the introductions.
Eric's pointing to me and Nick. We're like,
Yep. Yeah. What do you want us to say? Well,
Nationals start on the
I
29th.
can't read that.
I know that.
It is
Okay.
both upside down and illegible.
Okay. News. We have news. East Coast Nationals is happening in the city of Philadelphia on July 29th and 30th, and you should come. We will be there. Let's say hi and be friends. And also, if you go to there, is it anyone who attends, or is it under a certain circumstance?
I
We said
believe
everybody.
that was a door prize. Yes.
Okay, door prize for this. Dan B just announced some sick alt art matryoshkas.
Yes.
Describe them.
They look like they were drawn by the person who did that planet on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, the happy smiling.
Yeah, like the one that's like,
yeah.
making a funny face.
That's actually going to get across to some people.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a very evocative
Description? Yeah.
Exactly. They look like that, but it's a matryoshka.
And it's a play set of matryoshkas. And if you know matryoshka, you will know
That's 6.
that's 6 of those suckers.
And I
Value
did-
is what that is.
Yeah.
I did count the
The little
faces,
guys.
make sure there were 6 of them.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
yeah,
one
yeah.
popping out of the other holding another one. And there are, I also counted
Yeah.
6. And then I did the emote response of 6.
Yep. Yep.
It looks great though.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
We really should be able to credit the person who did the cool art,
Oh,
which was
God.
announced, and I'm desperately doing the Discording now.
His thumbs are moving so fast.
God
No
damn.
editing.
Shit.
Do we have like a thumb moving fast sound effect?
Alex, damn it, it's not in this post. Dan. I'll let Nick track that down while we mention other news. Oh, also, if you sign up before...
Did you say the dates of?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Were you listening?
No.
For anyone who was like Johnny who wasn't listening, it's July 29th and 30th of 2023.
Yeah,
That's how you
don't
say it.
show up in the wrong year.
It's not helpful.
In case you're listening to this in the future, just fucking go to Philadelphia. Where is everybody? We've had some beers. Full disclosure. Oh, core damage. If you sign up before a date that is like the end of this month, I think, before the end of June.
It's before the end of June.
Yeah, before the end of June, DNB has personally designed and laser cut some acrylic core damage tokens, which are sick. And they're not a brain.
I haven't seen them. What are they?
They're
A core?
They're kind of like an egg split in half. They're like two oval things that are sort of schismed, I guess. I don't know.
What's it supposed to represent?
Damage to your core.
Thanks, Eric.
I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just kind of a cool graphic design. Somebody posted it, and I think Dan adopted it. We're full of information tonight that's vague and kind of not incorrect.
Sometimes things were posted. I've messaged Dan. We'll see if we...
Oh,
get a
it was in one of
response.
the other things.
I have not found it.
Okay, no problem. The other bit of news is that we have started a Patreon. We started it. I started it. Slightly went rogue on that. Sorry, guys. And if you want to support the channel, we've got some big aspirations. I've been renovating a room where
He had to one up my closet with a room.
Yeah.
My room with walls.
My recording space
Not just sheets.
was not big enough to actually even have us all sitting there like we are here. So
I don't know that this space is big enough to have us all sitting
it's
here,
not,
but we're doing it.
Yeah, I think that
Nick's really shitting on my closet.
the safety people would be unhappy with us. Anyway, I renovated a room. I broke down a wall. I moved it back. Oh, the painters are coming in 2 weeks.
Is it my painter?
Yeah. And he's doing the rest of the attic. Anyway, that's almost done being made, and then I'm going to get some desks and stuff, but I want to set up some video equipment. I've already started buying things. I got a light for Father's Day. Why did I get so quiet? I got too far away. Anyway, aspirations, it costs money. If you like this, if you like what we've been doing on YouTube, if you have not been cued into that, we'll talk about it in a second. But if you like all that stuff, consider backing us. We've got one level. It's $5 a month. That's it. There's no rewards besides a Patreon-only Discord channel that I hope starts getting chatted in soon.
I didn't even know that existed.
It
Yeah, we tried the whole physical rewards thing, and it's just so...
It's a recipe for us to forget.
Yes.
It's really hard to remember. And as, you know, it's like over years, if people sign up, he's like, oh yeah, 2 years ago, I agreed that I would do this thing. So that's hard. If you like it, consider supporting the channel, and we're going to put the money back into the channel and buy good stuff and make videos and stuff. That's my plug. The Patreon is patreon.com/neonstatic. Future Eric here from the edit process. I just want to thank our 4 current patrons, Christopher, Baxter, Garrett, and Daria. Thank you very much for your support. Also, we've been doing videos. Talk about the videos.
Yes. Yeah, we've been doing commentary over some videos that we recorded initially at Mansion Runner, which was April, I want to say, the end of April. But then we also did a bunch of games at the Pandemonium Circuit Opener on May 20th.
Oh, wow. You got the date.
Yeah, because I had to look it up a bunch of times while we were
Yeah,
recording those.
Did you check the Andrew's calendar for that?
Pretty good.
But we have recordings from that. We've got, two of them up now?
We have 2 of them up.
Yeah.
We have all of the Mansion Runner videos. The last one, unfortunately, was corrupted by my phone deciding that it was time to go to bed.
Which is, yeah.
It's got like nighttime mode at like 10 o'clock or 10:30 or something. And it says like, please go to sleep now, Eric. And when it was recording the video, it just stopped because it was like, oh, all apps are shut down now. So that one's corrupted.
Good.
But that was a double-sided Swiss thing that was team-based and it wasn't like hyper competitive. So I don't think we're missing like a top tables moment there. So those videos are up on the YouTube channel.
It's because you weren't recording Nick and my table.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The upper 2/3 of Neon Static.
The upper 2/3.
Upper 2/3. Neon Static. That was unintentional. We
Yes.
have 2 videos from the standard CO as of right now up, and we will have more soon. They're not too much work.
Yes, and that was a single-sided Swiss event, so you get to see a lot of people kind of cycling through, including, I believe our first video has you on tape.
Yep.
You do exist
win.
in the physical world.
I win a game on as recorded. I've won at least one game of Netrunner.
Yeah, that is true.
He says at least one, implying that there's more than one.
Yeah.
That's not true. He's definitely beaten me a lot. So.
Also, I spent a lot of time overhauling the graphics. I
They're cool now.
learned Adobe After Effects in order to make cool new animated logos and stuff, and got real deep into that. So everyone should go check that out, please. That'd be fun. Leave a comment. Hey! Thanks, everybody. I didn't know that podcasts were live feedback, and they're
Yeah.
all gone.
Somehow that entire crowd just fit into this closet with us.
Yep.
I think
So, congratulations, Eric, on learning Adobe After Effects.
make it happen again. I like applause.
So that was actually very difficult. I had to move my mic out of the way and reach across the table to do that.
Cool story.
I deserve applause for that. We have more news that we have our CO.
We have a circuit opener.
Yes.
Opener.
Startup
Opener.
circuit opener.
It is on June 25th for those of you in the New England region.
25th.
The 25th of
June
June.
25th. It's a Sunday.
It is a
Not
Sunday.
the 24th, which is a Saturday.
It starts at 11 a.m. Doors open at 10 for the store, I believe.
That is
You're
correct.
guaranteed to be in at 11. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
I
And
believe
we're
they
going to
open at
do
10.
single-sided Swiss, and it's going to be awesome.
Startup.
Startup. Yes. Startup.
And this is H1 kit.
Yes.
Part 2 of the booster kit.
Yes.
Not the brand new one that just got announced that I don't think is even
And-
out yet.
I
It
haven't
is,
told
and
you
I
guys-
ordered that one. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, that's the news. Let's get off of the news. Let's go to accelerated beta test. I'm gonna sing all the intro music or the names of the segments. I said accelerated beta test.
Oh.
What have we been playing lately? Let's start with you, Johnny.
Disc golf.
Yeah.
Diablo.
Not much
Diablo,
Netrunner.
good game.
I have not played
You've been
Netrunner.
interrupted.
We adopted some kids
That's
for a
true.
while.
for like a week.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
that was a
It was
thing.
like almost 2 weeks.
You had a brief stint in parenthood. Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually haven't played Netrunner since April 26th. I
We'll
think that
fix
was-
Oh
that.
God.
That might be Netrunner, actually.
We'll fix that.
Oh God.
I don't.
April 26th?
Yeah.
We'll fix it.
It's a long time ago.
Leave the man alone.
No.
Your turn. What have you been playing?
I have been playing a bunch of decks that I just blatantly ripped off of Holly, the winner of the
Spoilers.
Pandemonium.
It's okay.
The Pandemonium.
They can
CO.
literally go look this up on the internet. Yeah.
It's true, but we're trying to get them to watch the videos. They can't know.
The
They don't know
face-
how it
know the
happened,
truth.
It's true. Yeah.
Anyway.
The how.
So I've been playing those, and then I have a couple of homebrew decks that
Well,
I'm
what are
playing
those
in
decks that
Startup.
you ripped off?
Oh, one is a PE like Poisoned Archives kind of deck.
What are the influence spent on?
Oh yeah, stock buyback.
Stock
Right. Yes, we were playing the other night. I got to trigger a stock buyback for 30 credits.
It's
30.
ridiculous.
So I have a question about poisoned archives. I don't know
Yeah.
necessarily what that term means, but if Mavirus is in archives,
Yep.
It stays there.
do you?
And it just
if
keeps
you're
going off.
running a deck that heavily relies on virus counters,
You don't run that.
do you just not run archives? Is it a safe haven for agendas?
No.
kind of.
Let's, for the sake of the people, Mavirus, since it's a standard card, and a lot of our listeners might be not standard familiar, it is a 3-cost upgrade that is an ambush subtype. While the runner is accessing this upgrade in R&D, they must reveal it. When the runner accesses this upgrade, you may purge virus counters. If this upgrade is res, do 1 net damage, and then trash it to purge virus counters, and it's cost 0 to trash. Note that it didn't say anything about not firing from archives.
Right.
So, yeah, it stays there. And then the primary thing that you're hoping, I think, to deal with that is Amakua. Amakua is the turtle AI breaker. I'm not going to read Amakua. I think that you probably should go look it up if you're not familiar with it, because it's kind of complicated. We could do like a segment on Amakua.
It is the meta, but basically it gains virus counters, and that increases the strength of the breaker.
It gains a
is.
virus counter when you access a card
No. It gains a virus counter for reasons.
Yeah. But no, importantly here, a virus counter on Amaku will increase its strength.
Yes. That's the important part.
And you gain them whenever you access a card and don't steal or trash it. And when you run on archives and you get purged by Mavirus or Mavirus or Maviras.
Nope.
No, not that one.
Not that one.
You access it, it purges, and then you get a token afterwards. So you end up with 1 strength, but you go from, 4 or 5, whatever it was, to 1 afterwards. So you can go steal the agendas kind of at the end. You have to wait until you're at critical mass.
Yeah, it's like if you're at the break point where you can win the game by getting whatever agenda is in there,
go for it.
You go for it.
So as the corp, is it a safe haven until, because you can identify when the runner's at the point where they would be willing to run archives. So you can, until that point, dump agendas in there safely, you think?
I don't know about safely.
You could bait them a little bit, I guess. That's probably part of the play. It's nuanced.
Well, so the Poison Archives, right, relies on things like Project Kusanagi, which is a 2-0 agenda. It does something. I don't even know what its text is, but it's
it
a 2-0.
doesn't matter.
And they steal it, and then they take a net damage because of PE.
If you score
so you just dump all those. Yeah, it's got
you
like
can
some
spend
effects for...
Yeah, if you score it, you can add a counter. You can spend a counter to add a do 1 net damage subroutine to a piece of ice or something.
Is that why you had like 15 agendas before you won your game with Nick?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was that, News Team.
So those
Kusanagis, one point agendas.
A lot of 1-point agendas because Personal Evolution does a net damage every time you steal an agenda. So, and if you dump, say, 5 1-point agendas or 3 0-point agendas and 2 1-point agendas into archives, you have no way, unless there's an additional cost to steal the agenda, to say no. And you must steal it and it can flatline you. So if you dump 5 1-point agendas in there, you're doing 5 net damage. And then if you put an Obokata in there, which is a agenda that as an additional cost to steal this 5-3 agenda, the runner has to take 4 net damage plus the PE ping.
Yep. Although you can win the game before the PE ping.
Yeah. Then effectively they have to leave the Obokata and they take a bunch of net damage. So you're trying to poison it with news teams, especially.
Yep.
And the Kusanagis and a few 1-point agendas maybe that you don't care about. But
right. Sting's a good one to get because then if you can score the last Sting and they have the other ones, you can deal a bunch of net damage that way. So,
yep. So you do a bunch of net damage and then you stock buyback for 30 freaking credits.
And you just have all the money.
He had like 45 credits at some point in this game.
And he still lost.
And I beat him. Yeah. I mean, we played a few times. We did have one game. This was on our Montage Monday.
Yes.
Which is the thing I'm trying to make reoccurring. Unfortunately, it's Mondays. I can't do Montage Tuesdays. That doesn't work.
It's true. Training Tuesdays.
It's just when we,
It's right there. Training Tuesdays.
Oh, okay.
Just saying. Anyway.
The point is, what was the point? I forget the point.
The point is that you lost a game turn 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't respect a snare.
Yeah. And snare killed me real fast.
Respect the snares.
Yep. Okay. So that's what Nick's been playing. That one deck.
And also a Hoshiko APOC deck where I have no idea how it triggers APOC. I had it in hand like all the times that we were playing those games. And I was like, okay, but like there's a bunch of ice here. How am I ever going to get rich enough?
Do you want to explain what that card is?
Oh, Apocalypse.
For the listeners.
Sure. Yeah. It's a 3-cost Adam card. Is that right?
No, it's Apex.
Apex. All right. One of those sub-faction cards.
It's about to be rotated out. But
yes. But it's if you have run, so you can only play it if you've run Archives, R&D, and HQ. And when you play it, you trash all installed corp cards.
You turn,
and then you turn all runner installed cards face down.
Which interacts with Apex's thing, but you don't care about that.
Right, exactly. You're just using it because the corp has spent all this money resing ice and installing assets and all this other fun stuff, and you just go, no.
Everything goes into the archives, and I go run archives and win the game.
Yes.
or all your servers are undefended, and I'm probably holding like a breaker or something important for me to recover, but you're not ready for this.
Right.
Mhm.
And it does run the like bin breakers. So it's pretty easy to have those already in the bin. And then you can
Yes.
pull them out when you need them on the kind of rebuild.
Right. So the way that you run it and in the Hoshiko deck is have a lot of money.
Yep.
And then just do it one turn.
Yeah, it was the having a lot of money that I had a problem with.
Yeah.
So I'll work on that. But
Yeah.
it does, that deck has an absurd amount of money between fermenters and liberated accounts and I forget what else, but moshing even. Very good.
I have been brewing, for my part, brewing on Isuak almost exclusively. I've played like 30 games of Isuak online against random people. And
against one non-random person,
who is that?
Me.
Andre.
Oh, that's true. I played on stream on Andre's stream. I played the deck and came so close to winning. It was actually like Andre ran like Hail Mary ran on something and won. Ran my hand a couple times and got the one card that was gonna, he got the Obokata.
I mean, he ran.
He did. He was a good.
Well, so I haven't done the statistics, but he ran your hand a lot and missed before he finally got the card.
Yes.
So I don't know how it works out to
and it's-
statistical likelihood of him actually hitting your card running that many times.
I also had the chance, just if you like, I realized the turn I was waiting for him to just like spend these 4 clicks and I win the game. And then I realized I could have sprinted this away. I could have sprinted this card away, but I chose to put something else that I did not need. And I kept the other Obokata in my hand. And I had like installed and double advanced an Obokata or something. I had the way to score.
You had a misplay with when he ran one of your servers. There was I think Mavirus that you didn't realize you could trigger during a paid ability window versus when he accessed.
Right. So he was on an Amakua deck and he ran into my 3 Ice Deep server, one with a Anansi on the outside. And he ran the Anansi, which is just the nastiest piece of ice. It's so nasty. I should read Anansi. Let's do it.
Spider guy.
Oh, it's on there.
I was going to say, somebody printed this out for me. Anansi is a 8-cost Sentry Ice with 5 strength. Whenever encounter with Anansi ends, do 3 net damage unless the runner broke all subroutines on it. And then the subroutines are look at the top 5 cards of R&D and arrange them in any order. You may draw 1 card. The runner may pay 2 money to draw 1 card and do 1 net damage. But realistically, it's the fact that it's a 5 strength Sentry that
has the on-encounter effect.
Yeah, the on-encounter, you either break all 3 of these kind of
there's still there.
Yeah, that first one is really
filter
good,
5 and draw 1 if you want it.
True. Yes, that's pretty good.
And
But
then
the other stuff is like, okay,
do a net and then do 3 more net.
Yeah, it's the
very expensive.
Without that, it would be bad.
So we ran that with an Amakua that was charged up enough to deal with it. And then I dragged him through the server. And then at the very end, I let him access and purge with the Mavirus, where I could have, when he ran into the Amakua, res the Mavirus and purged, and he would have had to deal with face planting into the now at least 4 net, which wouldn't have flatlined him, but it was a misplay.
But it would have. I think it would have ended the game effectively because he won on a Hail Mary a couple turns later, and he was in a much better position because you didn't do that. So there's almost no way he would have been able to do it had you purged at that point.
Yeah.
So, and then you would have had bragging rights that you beat Andre on stream, and now you don't.
Would have been great.
Now you don't.
Somewhere.
You almost need a trombone sound effect for that.
Like
it's on here somewhere. No, this is going to be worth it. There it is.
Perfect. Sometime I've played Andre once, like 4 years ago, and he did not know who I was at the time. And I was playing an Apex deck, and
are you on another random stream of his from years
ago?
Yeah,
years ago. Yeah.
Oh, you have to find that.
It would be interesting to look at it. And I was playing an Apex deck. I don't know how I would even find it. And he just is kind of like, like, I guess they misplayed. Like, he's kind of like, I don't really know what this person is doing.
Neither did he, Andre.
Very kindly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I've been doing that pretty much. Let's move on, shall we? We have a very brief spec work. Backward. We talk about rules. And here's one. Actually, Nick, you have a thing.
Yes.
So say the thing.
So my thing is ASA group, whatever. It's a Hospiroid ID that says the first time each turn you install a card. Yeah, I think it's just when you install a card in a remote server. It has to be remote.
No. First time
really
you install a card each turn, comma.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's even better. In any event, the first time you install a card each turn, you may install an additional non-agenda card from HQ in or protecting that server, paying all costs. So the realization that I had, because this is the card that has been obsessing me for my standard, somewhat jank Bruce.
Obsessing you. I like that.
Yeah, we're going with that construction.
Yep.
But the combo that I didn't realize until we were casting one of the games was that if the opponent hits Drafter, which is an ice that allows you to, it has 2 subroutines on it. One of them takes a card from Archives, I believe, and puts it into your hand. The other allows you to install a card from HQ. If they hit that and it goes off, it can also trigger the ID on the opponent's turn, which obviously otherwise you wouldn't really have a chance to do.
So you install a card with
Drafter
Drafter subroutine and then do a second one from Ace's ability.
Exactly. So like you can just like instantly out of nowhere create like a death server. They hit the Drafter and you're like, cool, I will put my Waroid tracker and I don't know, Managarm or something in the same spot.
The only game that we lost in our doubles tournament was against Ace Group. It was a very rough match.
Yeah.
Who was piloting it?
Charlotte.
Yeah. This is Charlotte's deck that we were talking about in the video.
It was brutal to play against.
That might be the only game that you lost, but I definitely lost other games.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, come on.
You're like the upper third of...
I'm the upper third, yeah.
the okay, so I have a other quick rules thing, and it requires you to know the standard only format card, or I guess Eternal too. Daruma, I want to say. Because it's Japanese, and they tend to emphasize the first.
emphasis on the first syllable.
Yeah.
Emphases on the first syllable.
Oh, boy. The art on this, there's like some weird...
The parrot?
No, it's like the little angry guy on a shelf.
What?
The Japanese like carving thing with a white face and it's red. And there's some really weird, almost old boy-esque video out there with like a bloody-eyed Daruma that like whenever you look at it, there's a classroom full of kids that it's like murdering every time you look at this thing, it kills you or something, or it's on a timer. Every time it turns around, it like looks at someone and kills him. Anyway.
Are you just talking about Squid Game?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Sounds a lot
it's
like
very Squid Gamey,
okay.
But I think it's like some random precursor to Squid Game in a movie. Anyway, that's what I think of when I see this card. Hey, future Eric here. The movie I couldn't think of was called As the Gods Will. Watch it at your own risk. Back to the show. Daruma is an upgrade. 1 cost to res it, 2 to trash, 3 influence. When the runner approaches this server, you may trash this upgrade. If you do, choose 1 card in the root of another server or 1 agenda asset or upgrade in HQ. Swap that card with 1 card in the root of the server. If you swap cards this way, the runner may jack out. So when someone approaches the server, you trash this thing and swap something in. And I had a question. If I use the Daruma to swap out a card for another card that triggers when the runner approaches the server, has the second card missed the approach window? So if I trash it, swap another one in that says when the runner approaches the server, does that trigger or not?
So I have a guess.
Okay, go ahead.
My thought is that the answer is it will not trigger, because that when the runner approaches has already happened. And at that point, all of the when the runner approaches triggers get queued up. And if it wasn't there to trigger at that point, when you could trigger the Daruma, it isn't going to be able to trigger at all.
So the answer, you're right.
Yes.
The window has passed, and Tim Burton, him says, yes, the same principle as using Ob to fetch a Rashida with launch campaign. You can't trigger the Rashida because the when your turn begins trigger has passed. It's a discrete point in time, and when you put the new card down, it's missed it.
Which when your turn begins step are we talking about?
Yeah. The pre-begin or the post-begin.
Just one little thing to go back 2 segments.
Cool.
Oh, that's way too far back, Nick.
No, it's fine. The person who did the art
window
for
has
the
passed, Nick.
Matryoshkas.
Yeah, the window has passed. Was Alexis. Goes by Mean Lady on Discord.
Oh.
So that's not me calling you an insult. It's
This is known.
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Anyway, also did the Oaktown renovation alt art for Mansion Runner, which
Love
is
Mwah.
perfect. It looks like
Chef's kiss.
it looks like something from SimCity.
It's
Like that's what it reminds me of.
So
It's
nice.
perfect. It's so good.
That's spec work. Let's get on to the main topic, and that is Into the Depths. Today, for Into the Depths, we're going to talk about ice.
Sorry, I was just appreciating how nice the soundboard makes live recording
It's nice.
Oh, it's amazing.
and what we used to do back in train shelving days.
It's a lot better. Yeah. Let's talk about ice, guys.
Yes.
Ice hedge fund.
Yeah. So, as a little flavor blip here,
Mm-hmm.
ice. Quick, what does ice stand for? Oh, everyone's read it.
Intrusion countermeasures electronics.
That's true.
That's definitely a thing I knew that wasn't just printed on a piece of paper that you handed us. Like,
You did at one point know
okay.
it.
You knew that.
You've read
I-
Neuromancer.
No, I have not.
Oh, well, then you didn't know it.
Yeah, exactly. It's also not a neuromancer, according to this
It
sheet that I
is,
have in front of me.
It was coined by William Gibson, who is the author of Neuromancer.
Okay.
First coined in his short story Burning Chrome, which is a precursor to Neuromancer, and then reused it again in Neuromancer and was popularized there. As
Uncreative.
also coined the term cyberspace. So like he's a cool guy. Also,
And jacking
yet-
in and out.
Somehow we ended up with firewall instead of ice for basically the same thing, right?
yes.
I don't like that. It should be ice.
We're not living in a Netrunner world where firewall is a piece of ice, but it was a stronger version of ice wall, 5 strength, 5 cost. Could advance. Also barrier.
That sounds
It
worse.
didn't get played.
I was going to say that sounds
Yeah.
worse than ice wall.
Yeah,
But
it was
anyway.
strictly worse. I
Yep.
think than ice wall.
Yeah, sometimes you can't just pump up
I
the
thought
numbers.
you were just making stuff up.
No, that's real. That's a real card. I want to say that was an Order in Chaos. I don't have an eidetic memory. I looked this up earlier today.
Wow.
So that's kind of a neat thing. Ice is the like centerpiece of Netrunner, in my opinion. It is like the thing that makes this game pretty awesome, and I have feelings about it. Do you agree?
It's not the click? You don't think it's the click?
You really like the click. I forgot about that.
So I do think it's the ice
Really?
because everything revolves around getting through or around or over under the ice.
Yeah, bypassing over under. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess just without the click, it would be a lot easier to do that. Or you'd have to come up with something
You didn't have
else.
clicks, you
to,
definitely
like,
couldn't do it, Nick. Do you know how the game is played?
you know what? You got a point. No, I mean, like, if you didn't have an action limit, like that part of it, even just like installing the ice, like you would just make your deck like 2/3 ice.
Okay, well,
that point,
today
right?
is Ice Appreciation Day, not Click Appreciation Day. So
I'm just saying, it's all about the clicks.
it's interesting to think about ice depending on which side of the table you're sitting on evokes different feelings, obviously. And I have found Nick is actively trying to push my notes off of the table.
Like a cat.
It's exactly like a cat. When I'm the court player and I cannot find any ice, I feel absolutely naked.
It's the worst.
Right? It's like a feeling, you feel exposed.
You're
And
just sitting there sweating, looking at the agendas in your hand, going,
yeah,
no,
they're
no.
going to get them.
No.
They're all going to laugh at you.
I find in general, regardless of what I have in my hand on either side, I always feel like I'm at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. If I've got ice out, I'm just thinking, oh, they can definitely get through this ice.
This will
is-
cost me money to rest. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Exactly.
all things that I want to talk about. Let's do it. Let's do it. So from the core perspective first, I guess. Do you guys have you're sitting down as a core player, like when do you want to find ice? Do you want to find it right away? What kind of ice do you want to find early versus middle of the game versus late.
Well, my
Speed.
opinion is that unless I'm playing a really weird corp deck, I always want to do Ice Hedge Fund as my turn 1.
Strictly Johnny's opinion.
Yep, definitely not something written down.
Yeah, it's definitely not in Eric's notes of optimal corp turn 1.
I mean, I wrote it, but it's I don't know if that's objectively true or not, but it sure feels good.
I was going to say, it feels like a default corp turn 1.
I think
If
it's the
you can do
baseline.
that, you're like, all right, cool. I'll keep this hand.
Right. If you have a hedge fund and 2 pieces of ice, it gives you time to breathe and like set things up correctly. Because if you have like 1 piece of ice, you're leaving something open.
So I will say, as like, I have not played a lot of standard. I think the only standard deck I've played so far has been Sports Metal, and I would not want Ice turn 1.
That's true.
I want to see, I'm drawing blank on the names, Hyperloop Extension or whatever the other.
Mega Pre-Qualifier.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I would like to have those turn 1 and have them hit those because that kind of turns my deck on.
Sure. Yeah.
In the sexual.
Gets it real in the sexual way. There are definitely like decks that will break the rules here.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of decks do want to set up and hide behind something a little bit.
Right. You want to make it difficult, particularly to get into HQ and R&D.
Right. Even
'Cause if you don't-
PE, you probably don't want to leave everything wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably correct. Like, you want to have stuff in your hand that you can keep safe so you can plan out future
And
turns
as a
and
runner,
stuff like that.
It feels pretty good if you can get a few free runs in before Ice is set up. So if the corp isn't doing Ice turn 1, it feels good as the runner, which tells you something about whether or not the corp should be feeling good about putting Ice out first turn.
I buy that.
So now the runner perspective, obviously you just talked about, right? Getting to get a few runs in is nice that are, before they manage to behind their ice. But the other thing about a runner looking at ice coming down, right? If it's Ice Hedge Fund, that's different, or Ice Hansi Review or something that gets them money. That's one thing where all of a sudden, as soon as the corp has credits to res a nasty threat like an Anansi or something like that, Ansel 1.0, or something like that, that's not just an ice wall. Then you have to kind of consider how this goes. But even if you do, as long as you can survive, if you can run one thing, and force the corp to spend 4 to 5 credits, maybe, that's very valuable. Like putting them back behind as the corp player, that sucks. It feels good to shut them out, but then like you lose that momentum. So I've noticed, at least playing a lot of corp games lately, where I want to set up and hide behind ice. It feels so good when the runner just doesn't run anything turn 1. And I think that running at least once into something, face check, play something important that you don't want to lose, get some money, go do a face check, and then do one other thing or something, maybe not strictly in that order, seems like a good play. But if you just let the corp sit there untouched, they can really get out of hand fast.
Right, because the reality is you're only going to be running one server at a time, and the corp gets to choose if it's actually important to keep you out. Like, that sounds very basic to say, but like, they're going to put out way more ice over time than they can probably res all at once.
Yeah.
But you're only going to be running the one server that's 3 ice deep, So they're going to be able to pick and choose. Okay, I see you've got these 2 breakers out, but you don't have a killer out. So I'm going to res my sentry and you will get totally destroyed by that. Or I'm going to res my tax ice because I don't really care. This is an NGO front. So I'm going to have you get through that ice, and then I'm going to just gain money and laugh at you.
And I think to kind of, I completely agree with you. And I think to double down on ice being like the centerpiece of the game, I think that one of the things that really separates good players from okay or bad players is an in-depth knowledge of the ice pool and what they cost and what they are. Because if you're sitting across from a corp and you see that they only have 4 credits, and you can know all of the possible ice that they're not going to be able to res all of these, so you can only be running into these because of what faction they're playing,
right?
What they're likely to have splashed. You have a huge advantage over somebody that doesn't have any of that knowledge. And I think one of the ways that I really struggle as a player is, 1, not having that knowledge, but 2, I have gone out of my way to play runner decks that avoid interacting with ice.
Oh,
just because of that.
So you're just avoiding learning the lesson.
Yeah,
You,
because
you
well,
could be learning all of this.
I find
but-
it so intimidating to have to build a rig. It takes time, and I feel like time is on the corpse side. And if I can't find my pieces fast enough, I'm just getting deeper and deeper in the hole, and I'm never going to catch up. Whereas when I play something like Atom, where I can do a logic bomb or
Inside
job,
yeah.
I feel like I can get started right away and put the corp on the back foot
Right.
instead.
Early pressure is great. It's going to definitely set the pace a little differently. But I will say that runners, like over the long term, what you're saying about like you're feeling like you're getting behind, if you're kind of setting up and you can get that rig rolling before they hit the end, then I feel like most runners eventually will run the corp over.
Right.
Like it seems like a good runner deck, generally the corp wants to win before that critical mass.
Well, it's weird because as the corp, I feel like the runner, like I need to win really quickly before the runner can get set up. So I feel it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right.
I know how it feels to be the corp, yet when I'm on the other side, I don't feel like I'm at an advantage.
Right.
Well, just remember that when you're sitting, it's like they probably feel like me when I'm sitting over there. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. There's just always this time pressure.
Right.
This time pressure that is brought on by the action
The click.
limitations that is the click. Anyway.
I got to get you a t-shirt that's just like, I love the click. On the topic of being able to mentally index through what ice are a threat, a lot of the big ones are on the sheets of paper that we're going to be talking about today. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. Going through the list of a bunch of popular decks, there was a lot of ice that were, like Miss Vingo and things that were, you see, but you don't see all the time that I didn't put on this list. But these are the big heavy hitters. So we're going to talk about some ice.
I only have one of the sheets. Oh, there we go.
You have two sides
There's
on that.
two
piece of
sides on
paper.
each of these pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Ecologically conscious. Okay.
On the topic of like runners pressuring the corp to res early, the question arises: what's the worst that can happen? Right? You have maybe nothing done on the board yet, and maybe so. Here's a hypothetical. Let's say you have turn one. You have a killer in hand. Do you install that first? Like get some econ, click 1, install the killer, click 3, run to force something to face check, or do you face check first and then install it afterwards?
I think a lot of it depends on the faction you're against, right?
I agree.
Obviously, if you're against like Jinteki, you are more worried about net damage being a real thing.
We also have to assume that these aren't bin breakers.
Yes, yeah. So it's not something that you can just install from the bin. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would really come down to the faction and how bad I think their ice is to faceplant into turn 1. If it's going to do potentially core damage and get rid of my single killer in the deck, then yeah, I'm obviously going to play the killer. And if I don't run this turn, I don't run this turn.
Also, does it depend how much money the corp has?
It does, totally.
Oh, that's true,
And
too.
so that's part of it, is that you're thinking about how much money do they have, and you're doing the thing that Johnny's talking about, where you're indexing through like what's the worst that can happen here. And I'm just going to use again as the example: does Jinteki have 8 credits right now? Because then all of a sudden DNA Tracker and Anansi are online, and that could be a very big problem for me. And even if it makes the corp go to 0 credits, it's going to set me back a lot. And then that piece of ice, and this is a critical part of ice from both sides, ice stays rezzed, right? It's a one-time cost, but it's a recurring cost for the runner. So
yep,
the value proposition of ice early in the game for the corp is very different than late game.
Right. It's also, I think, in standard, it's a different calculus because you could have. You're gonna have to help me with
Hippo?
Nope, the one that lets you jack out.
Oh, flip switch.
Kill
switch. One of those switches.
I believe
switch.
it's flip switch.
Yeah. Yes,
which
flip switch.
Which means that the worst that can happen is a lot less bad than the worst that can happen if you had to go through all of the subroutines in a piece of ice.
Right, but then you are still installing a card, so it takes a click.
Money for it too.
Click, money, it takes hand size down, so like you're not as easily going to be able to steal like an Obokata or something like that. Like there are all these, the considerations are kind of similar to how they are with the killer. I get that they're not exactly the same.
Well, I guess my point was
like,
that you're lessening the worst that can happen.
Yep.
But they might also have an ice that's not so bad, or that they can't even res, and they might also decide not to res something knowing that they can't cause max damage because they know you can jack out. So it puts a little I think it makes it a little bit safer.
There's
Yeah.
also a bunch of ice like Anemone, which is a card that any ice that has an on-res effect that maybe they could use now and cause some pain, but would be better to preserve the hidden information for later.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if the runner, like the one thing this related about the scenario where you have a killer in hand and you run, if you don't think you're going to die based on the credits they have and what faction they are, it sometimes makes more sense, I think, to like run something, find out what it is, and then, if say it's a chunky barrier or a code gate or something, well, then you didn't just waste time and money, early money, which is very valuable, installing some sentry that's not going to do any good.
No, that's true.
It's obviously like how worried are you in your deck about getting another copy of this card in case you lose it to damage or something, but
Right.
Well, and also getting stopped from breaking through a server is not as bad as the corp being down on credits and not being able to build up more on their next turn. So even though you don't
definitely.
get through anything, just draining them of money
the tempo play
is valuable.
Very valuable. Yeah.
Right. I mean, they res even just an ice wall, right? To me, I think is click negative for them overall because the ice wall costs some money and it cost a click to install. And all it cost you was one click to run it.
Yeah, but then it'll cost you a credit every single time for the rest of the game.
In the future, but like
yeah.
that's the thing about tempos. It's
That's the
all
best possible
within that
scenario,
window.
right? Like an
Sure.
ice wall.
Yeah.
So let's talk about ice wall. Ice wall is probably the most basic. It is the quintessential ice, I think. It's a one
It's got ice
credit.
in the name.
One credit. I think everyone playing the game probably has seen this, right? But it's a 1 credit barrier, 1 strength. You can advance it, and every time you advance it, you get +1 strength, and it just has 1 sub and the run. It's the most vanilla thing that exists outside of vanilla, which doesn't exist anymore. Which was a barrier that cost 0 to res, and it wasn't on the run. Strength 0.
Neat.
Neutral. It was. I'm sad that vanilla doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's been
Wall
replaced
seems
by
very
like
similar.
Palisade but there's no cheap in the run that is actually like good anymore.
Yep.
Cheap like 1 or 0 cost. That was so good. Oh, vanilla. Bring vanilla back. NSG, are you listening?
You're supposed to save that for next episode.
I don't know why, but
Anonymous tip.
no. Okay. Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, shit. Yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be
got
my
there.
card. Yeah, sorry.
There it is.
Why were we talking about that? I don't know. That was a piece of ice.
Because we were talking about ice wall being the most vanilla ice possible.
It's true. I think
And
maybe.
also,
Let's go through a few more things in this, and then we'll just talk about ice. So, how much ice do you think that you want to have in your deck? I will say that the rough numbers that people have established is roughly a third of your deck. If you look at like the traditional deck building guidance, it depends on the size of your deck. So a 49 card deck is either 15 or 16. You can't hit exactly a third. So it's either do you want to be slightly under or slightly over a third of your deck. In a 44 card deck, it's 14 to 15. And then in a 49 card deck, it's exactly 18. That's a third.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be perfectly ratioed, play a 54 card deck. No, don't do that.
I always just say 15 plus or minus 3. I don't know how close that is. But
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then some decks that are like asset spam decks play a lot less.
yeah.
A lot fewer cards, a lot fewer ice.
could be less ice. Lesser ice.
It's true, lesser. But I don't know, like those ratios, I don't know. I guess that you just have to trust them. Have you guys experimented with playing less and more ice?
Well, yeah. So
Fewer?
I've done a lot of playing with relatively
Shit.
ice light decks. So like I did like Near Earth Hub for our first tournament, which I want to say had like 8 ice in it.
Woo.
And almost all of it was just like, I'm going to tax you a little bit.
Yeah.
So that you got to think twice about running this server a billion times. But it wasn't like, oh, this is the giant brick wall that you're going to slam your head against and I'm going to score all my agendas from behind that. No, you're going to run out of money because of all my other asset spam stuff.
Right.
And then PE, the PE deck that I played for Mansion Runner was very similar, just very ice light. I'm gonna
These are
put out a
both
million
literally
things.
asset spam decks. It
Yes.
is put as many assets as you can out on the board. And if the runner cannot deal with them, they will die. So they won't have the time or resources to really attack centrals. That's their way of
Exactly.
defending.
And
Yeah.
I haven't looked into it too much, but I know there is a version of sports metal that only ices up the centrals and tries to go for a 1-turn score out 7 points.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
they can-
Fiorella Salvatore deck.
And I think that
so much fun.
I haven't looked at the deck itself, but I'm assuming that can be lighter on ice because it's only trying to ice up a couple of servers.
Kind of. But you
It's got to
need...
protect like it's a single remote, like San.
Well, it's not even just
I
a
didn't think
single
you had
remote.
to.
Oh, you fast break into it.
You don't even have
Yeah.
to protect that.
It's not even that. It's that because it's like a 4-card combo, I want to say. 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, but you fast break into most of it.
But no, but all the pieces of the combo are trashable. Your upgrades, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
The I forget what city grid it is that goes in there. Is it Sans? Yeah.
San City Grid.
Yeah. So those pieces are all trashable. So you need to be able to actually defend your HQ so that once you get them in hand, you can start putting the pieces together to build the puzzle to be able to do your crazy turn.
Right.
So
I don't think I've ever seen more than a third of the deck be ice. That seems like it would be stifling your economy too much, probably.
yeah.
You
just
don't really
wouldn't have
want to
the
be
money res
holding
it.
half of your deck as ice. That would be very bad.
Yeah, you just don't have the money to res it. The only one, I mean, maybe Ag Infusion.
You put, I think maybe
Slightly
I put,
more,
I think
right?
I probably played like 18 pieces of it. Yeah, because Ag Infusion is using ice not to res it. It is trashing them actively to to transport, to boop the runner over to bad pieces of ice that they have resed. So that's one. I don't know what the answer to this is, but another consideration is how you distribute your ice across types. So barriers, code gates, sentries, and other like mythic and other things, traps. So I don't know, like as far as the type split, I think the default position is roughly equal across the 3 main subtypes.
Yeah, in standard, I could see going for, I honestly can't keep the bin breakers straight, but some of them are less efficient than others. So I know Paperclip is like the best one. And then like MK Ultra, I want to say, is pretty expensive to use.
Black Orchestra and MK are both pretty expensive.
Yeah, so kind of over-indexing on those because you expect more decks to be running the bin breakers as kind of a default thing. Like, but even that, it's meta knowledge. It's not something that you're gonna like just, first time building a deck or, building a deck into a completely new meta right after a rotation or something.
Right.
That you're gonna know.
The corporation that you're playing is part of the consideration too, because like especially in Jinteki, which I have experienced very strongly lately with Isuak, their barriers suck.
Yeah.
Like in-house they have Ivik, which is a 7 cost barrier that reduces the cost to res by 1 for each code gate that is resed, which Jinteki's kind of the code gate kings, I guess.
But it's such a weird, because you normally kind of want your barriers earlier to stop them from running stuff while you get set up.
Yeah.
And this wants you to have that barrier really late. And like, especially installing ice late means it goes on the outermost one. Whereas Jinteki is like a taxing faction. You want to run them through the server and then end the run at the very end.
Yeah. Or not and have it be a trap.
Yeah. Either way.
Right. Which is why, side note, I think this is why Isuak struggles so much, is that they don't fundamentally work, I don't think, as a corp that installs and plays the shell game.
Oh, yeah.
You have to install. I've had the most success with it by installing and keeping someone out for a single turn and then scoring the next turn using fast advanced tools.
Right.
And to do that, you really need to be able to keep them out with barriers and massive tax like Anansi works, but it still doesn't keep them out. If they can take the net damage, they will do that. Now, Wakata Protocol, notwithstanding where it self-defends a bit. But yeah, there are a lot of factions have trouble with that stuff. Hospiroid has the clickable Diviroids that people can click through. They also don't have a ton of in-house barrier tech that I can think of off the top of my head. That's just straight up like non-porous, it will stop you.
Right. Yeah. I think they're mostly, sentries, I want to say?
Yeah, mostly sentries and code gates. I think that's about right. I think all the big nasty ones are sentries. They also have like Eliza barrier and like magnet is going to stop you. But
it could. But see, magnet's an interesting one to me because it feels like it's not ice. Does that make sense?
It is specialized for sure.
It's not a card that you put in your deck because you're like, oh, I need another piece of ice. It's a card that you put in your deck because you go, all right, I need to get that Potulus off of my opponent, off of the Anansi or something like that.
Or
like
Hush.
you need to like pull it. Yeah, either way. But like the point is you're not putting it in there because you're like, oh, sick, a 3-cost end the run. Love it.
Absolutely. You're paying for the ability.
Yeah, it's some other ability to it. And the fact that it is ice is kind of secondary
Let's go through some
to
ice.
its effect.
Let's go through some ice. So
Let's do it.
I have printed out, what is this? 12 pieces of ice in the startup format and 10 pieces of ice in the standard format that I think are like central to the game and you should be aware of them. And we don't need to go through all in depth, but we'll go through them and talk about them. The first one on startup is Ice Wall. We've already talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Got to know about that. It's going to stop you. You don't even really need to know about it. It just stops you sometimes.
Right. That's true. Yeah. It doesn't really punish you that much.
Yeah.
So
It's just a thing that you need to be able to deal with by getting a. So that's the reason you need a barrier at a baseline to deal with Ice Wall. Eli 1.0 is also another really good barrier. It is Hospyroid.
yes.
And it says lose a click to break one subroutine on this ice. Only the runner can use this ability. And it's got 2 end the run subroutines and it's 3-cost strength 4 barrier. So it's expensive to deal with, which really encourages the runner to click through it.
Right.
But that's like a run and 2 clicks. Ouch. That's 3 clicks is a lot. So,
right.
So it's a huge value proposition for 3.
And it's interesting because what we were talking about earlier. Oh, if you're the runner and you can just like face check their ice and get through and maybe get a free access, that's huge. And this one gives you that option, but it does so in a way that totally negates and might even, go over that to reverse the tempo game.
Right. The tempo is lost on that if you click through it for sure. The next one is Toll Booth that I have on the list. It is a big piece of ice, and it is never cheap to deal with.
Right.
Ever. I don't think there's anything, maybe a Hush. A Hush would help this, but it's still expensive.
Yeah, it's still a 5-cost ETR, so
5
strength. Yes.
Yeah. So it's a 8 strength, 8 to res, 5 strength code gate out of NBN, 2 influence. When the runner encounters this ice, they must pay 3 credits if able. If they do not end the run, and then it's got an end the run sub. So being able to pay the 3 is it's good. It'll steal it off of an overclock.
Overclock, yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's not. It would be different if it said about losing credits. It'd be different. Like lose 3, and if they don't, whatever.
And it's a really good response to decks that, especially in startup, because we're talking about startup ice, that don't want to use credits to break your ice. They want to use boat and botulus and things like that.
Bypassing effects.
Yeah, exactly. Your inside jobs and that kind of stuff. To just go around it, you can actually manage to attack their economy. And the interesting part to me is that it's not a choice for the runner. If they have 3 money, they lose 3 money.
Yeah.
It's not you may pay 3 money or end the run, in which case you hit it and you go, all right, cool. And then you jack out.
Yeah.
No, instead you pay the 3 money. And then if you can't get through it, you also get an ETR.
It's always good. Yeah.
Yep.
The next one's Classic Piece of Ice Roto Turret. It's a 0 strength, 4 to res, Sentry Destroyer subtype. And it has 2 subs, trash 1 installed program, and end the run. So the end the run, it's a 0 strength. You have to find a Sentry killer to deal with it. But the trash 1 installed program, like it's a lot to res 4 just for this low strength ice, but it can really change the game. It can win a game for you if there's no way for the runner to deal with it. So it's one of the main things that I'm thinking about, not all the time, but like I keep Roto Turret in mind when I'm running and I don't have a Sentry.
I just
killer.
It feels very timing dependent. Like you really do not want to draw this like past turn 3 or 4, maybe, right? The odds that your opponent has gotten a killer up and running are pretty low. And then also there's the risk that like your opponent runs into it, and if you get it early, they just don't have any programs out for you to trash.
You definitely want it not right away. Or maybe you do if you're desperate to end the run, right?
Sure.
It still ends the run.
That's true. It's expensive.
It's
for an
expensive
ETR,
for that. You
but-
really want it to trash something they just installed that is kind of a big deal for them.
right.
Yeah.
Fermenter even or something like that. But
Oh, yeah.
it just feels like a very narrow window. So every time I've put Rototurd in a list, I end up cutting it because there's just more reliable ice that does one or the other of those two things.
Yeah. Stavka comes to mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't include that in the list, but Rototurds survived for a long time. And it's one of those pieces of ice that is a bit of a surprise, but you see it. You'll see it. It's perennial. It
Yeah.
comes around. Next on the list is Anemone.
Mhm.
It's Jinteki. It's 3 to res, 2 strength, Sentry, AP subtype. When you res this ice during a run against a server, you may trash 1 card from HQ to do 2 net damage. That is the big part. 1 sub, do 1 net damage.
Right.
And being able to unconditionally do 2 net, especially if you have it in front of something that requires net damage to be stolen, high Obokata protocol is very useful. Or setting up a flat line or something like that.
Yeah, it's even very useful for just the mind game effect of it. Like, they're coming in at something that's advanced. They don't know what it is. They hit the anemone and you res it and pay the cost. They take the net damage.
Continue.
Yeah. You sure you want to keep going?
Yeah.
Into this server? That could be Urtica Cipher or something like that.
Right.
that
Potential flatline. Here we go.
exactly. Yeah. So it has that cool deterrent effect, but it is obviously the timing is very dependent.
Mm-hmm.
When they hit it.
In order for this not to take literally hours, I will just mention by name a few other pieces of ice that I feel like are important here in startup format, especially, and some of these are also applicable to standard. Ansel 1.0 is a big old bioroid that you have to deal with it.
Yep.
Especially the last sub, the runner cannot steal or trash corp cards for the remainder of the run.
I find that one interesting because it's not quite end the run. They still get the info, but they just get to look at what you have, and then you kind of laugh at them, like, yes, this is my master plan. But I don't know. It's interesting that it's not just end the run, right? Because that could easily have just said end the run as the third sub.
Yes, it's a slightly different flavor.
Yeah, I like that.
It is neat. It also trashes an installed runner card, which is a huge sub. Usually
Yes.
trashing is a program or
A hardware.
well, it's
maybe?
very rarely hardware. Trashing hardware is very hard.
I was gonna
this
say,
that's
there's
one of the things
retribution and not a lot else.
yeah, that's why that sub is very strong, because you can choose a piece of hardware or a resource that's critical.
Kill that boat.
Let's see. So Ansel, Enigma is a perennial piece of ice, right? The runner loses a click and ends the run. 3 to res, 2 strength, code gate. That makes it into a lot of lists, partially because it's neutral
And cheap.
and cheap and taxing, right? That losing a click, face checking into an Enigma it feels bad because
Right.
losing that click sucks.
Yep.
Other cards, just quickly, Pharos, I feel like is a very, very strong piece of ice in standard, in startup in particular, and also in standard. I think it holds up. A triple advanced Pharos is a 10 strength barrier with 3 subs. Give the runner tag and 2 ends the runs. It costs, with a cleaver in startup, I think it costs 12 to break. It's insane. It's
Yeah.
very big.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I
And
agree.
3 subs is big for boat. So
Yeah, right. So that's a strong one. Funhouse gives an unconditional tag unless they end the run. That's kind of like the replacement to Data Raven, which is the classic card that one day we should play a game with in Classic so you can experience Data Raven, Nick. Cracking the burrs. Magnet.
I'm back, everyone.
Johnny's back.
Did you guys tell him I was gone?
No.
I
No.
went to go cook dinner for everyone.
yes.
Magnet. We're just going through kind of quickly some of the startup ice that we're not going through in detail here, but we talked a bit about Magnet already. Nick talked about how we're not paying just for the end the run there, obviously. But the ability, I saw someone comment in a deck list, like if you're not running Magnet in 2023, like you got some chutzpah or something. I don't know. It's like good on you, because wow, yeah. It takes courage to do that, because Botulus.
Yeah.
Botulus is very annoying. Boomerang, Hush. No,
Well,
Boomerang
Hush-
doesn't do
Boomerang
it.
doesn't do it.
No,
Yeah. 'cause
yeah.
it
Also, doesn't
it
Hush
doesn't
shut
host.
off Magnet?
No, Magnet beats Hush. Oh, Hush beats Magnet.
But you
Yeah.
can pull the Hush
Doesn't it?
onto.
I think Hush beats Magnet.
This is a
Does
thing.
it? I don't think it matters, right? If you pull the Hush onto the magnet. Oh, I guess maybe if you've
No,
de-resed it. And
There's a
re-resed
ruling
it.
on this on which one beats it. I believe Hush beats the magnet. If Hush is hosted on a res magnet, including becoming hosted by being moved with its conditional ability, the static abilities printed on the two cards are each dependent on the other, creating a loop. To resolve the dependency loop, the abilities of the hosted object are applied before the. Therefore, Hush's static ability is applied first.
Right. Which is important because you can then move Hush to something else. Right.
Then Magnet loses both.
and then
its
Magnet
static-
would have to keep pulling it back.
Well, it'd have to get re-resed
Mhm.
to be
Re-res
able to
too,
do that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So actually, that's kind of consistent with like whose on encounter effect goes first. The runners goes first here. The runner's Hush ability goes first. That's a way to remember it, I guess.
Yeah.
So Hush beats Magnet. That's a long answer to Hush beats Magnet. Magnet. That's Magnet. Archer is another perennial nastiness that you do not want to run into.
Mm-hmm.
4 to res, but 4 plus forfeiting an agenda to res. 6
Right.
strike sentry with 4 subs that are all just very bad. Gain 2 credits is the least nasty of them.
But then you've resed this thing for 2 money, which is
That's right.
pretty good.
Yeah. It costs 2 and an agenda. Maybe hopefully it's a 1 point or a 0 point agenda.
Right.
2 trash 1 installed programs and the run. This is a core set card from the original set. And it's stuck around for a reason. Resing an archer at the right time can win you a game.
Yes.
Because getting through that is so nasty. The combination of high strength and multi-sub makes it, and like subs you must break.
I was going to say that the
And cheap to res, which means you can.
Yeah.
The corp is probably going to almost always be in a position to be able to res this, as long as
Well,
they have a cheap agenda.
I was going to say it really depends on the agenda, and like if
Hostile
that's the
takeover.
agenda putting
Right,
you
hostile
on breakpoint, maybe you don't want to give it up, even if it is. Yeah, I
mean, the corp is the one with all the information, right? If it's
That's true.
if it's protecting the thing that's going to lose them the game,
Yeah.
they give
Yeah.
up the hostile takeover to do it.
Right.
for sure.
Also,
Maybe even something bigger than a hostile takeover if they're going to lose if they don't do it.
if you trash like 2 of the critical icebreakers, then you
Right.
can take as long as you want to score those final agendas.
That's
People can
true.
just concede at that point.
Yeah.
And the end the run is after the trash installed program. Does that mean you can trash the breaker that's currently
Yep.
interacting with it?
Yep.
Oh, no, it would be breaking
because
it.
it would
No, it'd be
already be
breaking it.
because
That's-
the paid ability window
yes,
is before
yeah.
that. So
Right.
Years.
You res. If they can't deal with it, you can trash 2 things and then end the run. Yes. If it was the other order, if it was end the run, trash programs, that would not be good. But yeah.
right.
The last one on this list, and there are other cards in Startup that are good in other ice, is Pop-Up Window that I wrote down as a notable include. This is just always taxing. When the runner encounters this ice, gain 1 credit, and then end the run unless the runner pays 1 credit. And it's 0 strength and 0 to res. So
Right.
you res it for free, you get a credit. Then they lose a credit, and they don't need a breaker, but it's a 2 credit swing every single time.
And you just put it on something that you know they're going to be running a lot, HQ or R&D.
And even if they
it
can
just-
break it, who cares? You still get the 1 credit.
Yes.
exactly,
A
and
daily quest.
it cost you 0.
One thing that is not on here, which I don't know if maybe I am wrong about it being good, but ping.
I ran out of space on here, and ping was the one thing I almost
Okay,
put on.
because that seems really important.
Ping is it's a 0 cost. 0 cost?
I think it's 1.
It is a 2 cost 1 strength ice.
It's a barrier out of NBN that when you res it, you give a tag to the runner unconditionally, and then it's got an end the run.
It is the card that taught me that you don't always want to res ice just because you can.
Yep, that was the one that almost made the list, but ran out of space. Yeah, so those are the startup ice that I don't know, looking through a bunch of lists, thought were notable. And then we have 10 other pieces of ice from standard. The first one, I'm going to let the listener guess what the most important piece of ice they think I'm going to say is in the standard format. Place your bets. I think it's border control.
Yeah. It's the only one that once you res it, you can end the run, period. I mean, barring, I guess, a hush, but you always have the ability to end the run after that is up on that server. You've got 1 turn where you can tax them for that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's not unbeatably good. It's got counterplay. And I think there's a reason why this is one of the cards from the Magnum Opus set that actually is still in play.
Yeah.
A lot of those cards got banned because they were just ridiculous. But border control is a 4 cost barrier 1 strength, and it's got a special trash ability. End the run. Use this ability only during a run on this server. And then 2 subs. Gain 1 credit for each piece of ice protecting this server and end the run. So it's going to make itself money back. If you have like 2 pieces of ice, you res it for 4, you gain 2 back, and then it ends the run. And if they can deal with it, who cares? You let them, you put the border control on the outermost piece of ice, you let them run through everything, including the border control, and then they get to the end and you trash it and they got to do it again.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very strong. Because somebody said this the other day, I think it must have been Andre, because I was listening to him talk about it. It multiplies the cost of the server. It's not additive, it's multiplicative, right? Because it's not just one time through plus this extra piece of ice you're tacking on the end. It's do it again, but do all of it again.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you can hush it, in which case it's really bad because it's easy to break.
Yeah. Then it's fine. Yeah.
4
So,
costs,
honestly,
2 subs.
I think Hush is a sleeper that people are sleeping on.
Are people? I thought it was pretty popular.
No.
Oh,
I don't think
know.
so. I don't think it's played enough.
There's definitely several other cards on this list that I would like. I'm looking at them and thinking, oh yeah,
Hush. There's so many Hush targets. Yeah. It's really good. Gatekeeper is one that, Johnny,
I love Gatekeeper.
Yeah. Talk about Gatekeeper.
So Gatekeeper is a code gate, is 3 to res, 0 strength. Gatekeeper has +6 strength if res this turn. And then it's got 2 subroutines: drop to 3 cards, reveal up to 3 agendas in HQ and or archives, then shuffle those agendas into R&D and end the run. So Gatekeeper, I used Gatekeeper in Sports Metal.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the work it did was I wanted people to get through my servers early, pick up the Hyperloop extensions, kind of fuel my economy. And then when they're going for their kill stroke at the end, res the gatekeepers, and they're huge. And even like the Amakuas and what?
I know. I just had an aha moment about my Isuak deck, and the answer is Gatekeeper.
yes,
I need Gatekeeper
because you can use it on the turn that you're trying to combo.
Yeah, and it's only two influence. That's awesome. I gotta include those. I also should experiment with border controls, but go on.
I think it's
good.
The ice is self-explanatory
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it can do. My favorite moment was when I had 2 of them, because
Ugh.
the person I was playing against was
Ugh.
like, there's no way that if I spend all of my money here that there's going to be a second gatekeeper right behind it.
right.
And it was great.
Well,
Yeah.
and the draw and reveal and reshuffle things.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's so conditional that you can just be like, all right, I'm not going to draw anything here. I'm just going to get these agendas out of my hand that you were about to get, or
Yeah.
out of archives.
I
that
mean,
you
it's
were
like a
about to
6
get.
strength ice plus a spin doctor plus an end the run.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like,
Yeah. That's the way to think of it. Yep.
Another one, and these aren't in order of importance here. These are just like, as I was going through lists, I put these on here. Endless EULA.
Yep.
If you're not familiar what EULA is, not everybody is. It's end user license agreement, which I love the theme of this card.
I do too.
It's a 0 strength barrier. It costs 6 to res, and it's got 6 subs on it, and each of them says end the run unless the runner pays a credit.
Yep.
And it's just like,
It's so perfect.
it's really good.
It's so good. Like this is one where like just the number of subs is what makes it costly to break.
Right.
You don't need to have the high strength if you've just got 1 million subs.
Right.
So this would be I mean, it's good, but I think if this was in startup, it would be in every deck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For sure.
The boat
For
would
sure.
have,
It's 2 influence too.
it kills
so
the boat.
It kills,
Right.
It kills endurance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's baseline 6 to break. It's a barrier. So even Clippy, paperclip,
Paperclip. Yeah, it's
costs
still
6.
6.
It's,
Yep.
you know, that it
Yeah,
doesn't
you
sound
don't
any
get
better.
any efficiencies.
Right.
out of
The
that.
strength being 0 is almost irrelevant
Doesn't
because of
matter.
how expensive it is to break.
It's a lot of subs.
Right. It's just all about the subs.
It's all
Yeah.
about the subs.
Is there anything that there are no icebreakers that can break subs for free?
There are, right?
there?
Isn't there one in Shaper that's like ridiculous? It's like might be power counters to boost it each time, but then it breaks subs for free. Am I
I'm
misremembering
blanking.
this?
The audience is screaming at us right now.
Yeah.
There's there's
You're assuming
bypass
that there's an
effects.
audience.
There's break. There used to be grappling hook that was like break all but the last sub.
Mm.
Ooh.
That was cool. That was like a boomerang. Boomerang's grandpappy is grappling hook.
Should have been called hook shot.
Yeah. Moving on. Surveyor is a piece of ice. It is Wayland 5 strength, X strength sentry tracer, and X. So this is complicated. It's a trace thing, but X is twice the number of ice protecting the server. So if you have 2 pieces of ice, it's strength 4 and 3 is 6. That's twice. That's multiplying. And trace X, two subs. First one is trace X. If successful, give the runner 2 tags, and then the second one is trace X if successful in the run. So it just costs so much to break this. If you let it fire, you can beat it with paying the traces out, but it gets very expensive. If you have like 3 or 4 pieces of ice, it's nuts.
So since we're talking about how good Hush is, does Hush get rid of the definition of X?
Yes.
So it's just trace 0?
0. Hush
Interesting.
makes X 0. Yes. You don't want to get hushed on. It absolutely kills Surveyor.
That's weird that it makes it 0.
Yeah, by default, yeah, X, that's what happens in this game when...
If not assigned a value, X equals 0.
Exactly. That's its default state, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a really good one, by the way, for the Endless Eula. Die V.
Die V.
Die V or Die 5, I'm not sure. But it is 2 credits to break all subroutines. Use this ability only by spending credits from stealth cards.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-cost breaker for 6, but you don't care. It's just 2 credits to get through Eula.
What's the Orca? That one does stuff with... I don't know if it's specifically a barrier breaker, but I thought that was like a break any number of subs. There's a bunch of...
It's a killer.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
But yes, it does have break any number.
Moving on quickly, IP block is important to deal with Amakua specifically and other AI breakers that matter, but Amakua is mostly what that is. IP block says when the runner encounters IP block, give him or her 1 tag if there's an installed AI. So
what's funny is I thought you were adding the or her.
No, it's
because
in there.
oftentimes in games they don't have them both,
which sucks. Yeah. Yes. No. Netrunner is cool with representation, and we love that.
Yep.
It's got trace. Oh, I can't even read it. 3. Trace 3.
I think it's a 3.
If successful, give the runner 1 tag, and then end the run if the runner is tagged, and it's strength 4. So you give them the tag on encounter with the IP block, and then they have to deal with a 2 sub 4 strength guy. Fairchild 3.0. Man, that guy is big and matters.
Yep.
It's kind of the nastiest, maybe the best piece of ice in the game. It's one of them. This and Border Control are the 2 that I'm worried about the most, I find. So Fairchild 3.0, the runner can spend click, click, click to break up to 3 subroutines on Fairchild 3.0. Fairchild also, I don't know why it's called Fairchild. We were talking about this. The art depicted is art of the goddess Freya.
Yeah, and somebody was saying that fair might have something to do with Freya, but I was looking up the etymology. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Freya means lady or something, or it had nothing to do with it. I couldn't find a connection.
If you know why Fairchild is Freya, please let us know.
And
Write
Nick
in.
I found, I know of Fairchild semiconductors, and I was like, how does that relate? With semiconductors, that could have some relation.
Yeah.
And then Nick found something about a Fairchild AI.
Yeah, Fairchild Laboratory for AI Research, FLAIR. But
Ooh, that's cool.
Founded in 1980. Yeah.
Well, if that's it, or if anyone can confirm that in any way, especially anybody, does anyone from FFG listen? Can you tell us? That would be cool. I'd like that. Liga, if you're listening, the artists, write in to neonstaticpod@gmail.com and let us know, was there something in the art brief that explained Fairchild? I'd love to know. Anyway, the runner must pay 3 credits or trash 1 of his or her installed cards. The runner must pay 3 credits or trash 1 of his or her installed cards, and then do 1 core damage, or end the run. And that's corpse choice.
I was going to say, yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. This thing is 6 or trash 2 cards, and then maybe end the run if it fires, or do a core damage. It's a big bonkers.
And it's strong. And if you want to click through it entirely, it's 3 clicks.
You got to do it.
And you can only do it as a brick, which
Right.
means you have to be running your first click or
have extra clicks.
but-
Yeah.
But like that part to me is like one of the stronger parts, because anytime you have the Bioroid ice, yeah, it's taxing to them on tempo, but they know they can get through it.
Right.
But this one is so restrictive
Not
on
really.
when they can get through it.
Yeah.
With that it seems to me
Right.
very
click one or
very
nothing.
good.
Yeah. A few other ones. I guess I tend to gravitate towards the big ice. I have Anansi on here. We've talked about. We will skip that.
Yep.
Big and scary.
Also a good hush.
Hush target is that
Just
turns off the big part of it. Not all of it, but just a lot of it.
Well, most of the rest of the effects on Anansi, I can live through
Mm-hmm.
firing. Dealing 3 or 4 net damage
Bad.
is real rough.
Yeah.
But
DNA tracker feels very similar to me as an Nazi. It's similar strength and cost. It's 1 stronger, and 3 sub doesn't have the on encounter effect, but 3 sub do 1 net damage. The runner loses 2 credits. Triple it.
This one feels similar in that like you either break all 3 or
Deal with it.
like your life is going to be pain.
Yeah, it's painful. Data loop is another big one. 7 cost barrier out of NBN, 4 strength. When the runner encounters data loop, he or she must add 2 cards from his or her grip to the top of the stack. And the run if the runner is tagged, and the run. So this one is great in front of Obokata Protocol.
Right.
I
was going to say like that specific combo
Right.
feels like a lot of the justification for this. But I mean, it's also the runner negative draws 2 cards.
Yes.
Like even on its own, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it's entirely worth 7 credits forced. Maybe it is. It's probably worth it. You don't want to run into a data loop and not be able to deal with it. Even if you can, you always got to put them down. The on encounter effects really, that's again, Hush.
Yes.
Hush is so good. There's also Hunting Grounds, I think, that deals with on encounter effects as well, but I like Hush better, personally.
Yeah.
So I've one question about a card that's missing from here that seems like it might be important with cards like Amakua.
Mhm.
I might be biased because I had one game that was saved by this ice, but is Hagen not a critical piece of ice to consider?
Hagen is like a one of in several decks.
I think a lot
Some
of decks get by with Mavirus instead, right?
Okay.
It is kind of the big thing is that Mavirus is like you don't have to res it, right? So it's effectively free once it's installed.
Right.
Hagen is a 4 strength, 6 strength, 4 to res, barrier, destroyer out of HP, 3 influence. This ice has -1 strength for each installed icebreaker, which is part of the deal. Like with the Amakua, is it an icebreaker?
It is an
it
icebreaker.
is.
Okay, but it's
an
just a
AI.
1. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Trash One program that is not a decoder, fracture, or killer is one of the subs, so that would deal with with
Amakua.
and the run.
Right. So if somebody's running an AI instead of a full suite, they're not reducing its strength by much. If you can get an Amakua before it's able to break this, it trashes the Amakua.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like very clearly targeted at AI, but I feel like, well, I guess, yeah. So Mavirus was the one that I had referenced because it is another way to target Amakua. It targets the virus counters that go on Amakua instead. But this is just specifically anti-AI ice. And there's a couple others, right? There's
like
Swordman,
Macrophage.
yeah. But like
Swordsman's a great one.
Yeah.
I got to res a Swordsman against
We should put a link to the match and not spoil it.
Okay. Yeah. Good moment.
But like it feels very techy. So like if, for instance, Matryoshka takes off and is like in a bunch of decks as the breaker, Matryoshka especially, because of all the clicks you need to kind of power it up to break multiple pieces of ice, like that could be really devastating. But for right now, the AI ice that you're worried about is also fixable with Mavirus. And that also hits fermenters and botulists.
AI
And like you just get right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the AI breaker that you're worried about is Amakua, right? There's I don't know of any others.
I got run over by a Apex deck running Matryoshkas the other day, and like I couldn't deal with it. after a while. I was like, I actually lost to Apex. This is the first time in a long time. And it was like, I had no like rig shooting in the deck.
Yep.
And it got to critical mass. It got 3 copies out. And I was like, okay, just look for another piece of ice and I can stop it. And then I would install one. And they were like, okay, cool. Here's a 4th one. And now I can deal with this again. And it's like, you cannot keep me out. And it was 6 copies. When you get that thing going and
were they
it's very efficient.
Using something to search their deck for it, or were they just happening to find it?
I think they just had a lot of draw and stuff. Okay. It wasn't, they had like assimilate out, but that only works for the first one because you have to host the second one on.
But was it like a high roll situation where they just happened to be pulling all their Metroshkas?
I don't know. It felt bad because I couldn't deal with it. I was like, no, the dolls are killing me.
Apex has a lot of draw though too, so tends to go through the deck pretty quickly so that you have things to install face down for your trash effects.
Yeah, this was I think on a reboot installs face down. I forget. There was some draw stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also have Thimble Rig on here. That's worth, this is the last one we'll mention. It's a 2 strength code gate out of Jinteki, 0 strength, 2 to res. I always mix these up, apparently. It's a code gate. When your turn begins or whenever the runner passes Thimble Rig, you may swap Thimble Rig with another installed piece of ice in the run. So it's so useful in rearranging. Note, like the big thing with that is that you can move your ice around to wherever you want them given 2 turns.
Right. The reordering is the big thing.
Yeah.
Like being able to take your end the run ice from the outermost position to the innermost position so that they have to run through all of your taxes.
Yeah.
So big.
Yeah.
But you can't always guarantee that because of draw order and things like that. So
yeah, that's really interesting because sometimes you want a certain, like code gates, often you want at the outermost piece, but maybe it's the first thing that you draw and you don't want to put no ice down. You don't want to wait to draw the ice that you want to put inside of it.
Right.
Thimble Rig fixes that.
It fixes that problem wonderfully because you just install, as long as you can find one eventually, you're good.
Well, and the other thing that it does too is if you know the opponent is planning to run that server multiple times, they run it, they hit some scary ice or some ice that's really easy to deal with. And then you Thimble Rig and you're able to swap in something that maybe is like scarier for them.
Or you res something and then they botulus it and you go, okay, cool, Thimble Rig.
Move that to archives or something.
There's something else in the way.
Much.
Yeah.
And it's not within the same server, so maybe you have a defunct server that you no longer need to protect.
Exactly.
And you need to move something over to R&D or wherever.
You start the game protecting your centrals with a big nasty piece of ice, and then when you're ready to start scoring out, you Thimble Rig it over to your remote.
And the fact that it's so cheap, like it's kind of ice wally in that way, where like you throw it down turn 1, you're great. I got an end the run on R&D, perfect, and then you know that it is going to continue to have value later in the game because you can just start swapping things around and move in your Anansi or whatever.
Yeah, it takes time to get used to, like playing in paper, you'll miss this trigger 100 times. Like it's whenever they pass the ice and at the beginning of your turn. And I played one game where I got annoyed at the trigger after a while. I was like, okay, no, I don't want to stop. And you can hush that, I think.
Is it worth using a hippo on this?
No, I don't think so.
No, you want to hit the actual ice. Because
I feel like the potential for Thimble Rig is very high, like the ceiling is very high.
Also,
but it would feel bad to use a hippo on it.
Thimble Rig protects the hippo.
Right, because it lets you move your big ice.
You can move
inward.
your big ice in. You can swap it with the Thimble Rig, which is awesome.
And the reason that I wouldn't hit the Thimble Rig, like, yes, the value is relatively high, but it's slow. And you would rather like the Anansi or whatever that you're scared of is still out there, right? When you kill the Thimble Rig.
You need 2, and then maybe another Thimble Rig comes into play, and you're like, oh, damn it.
Right. Well, I mean that too, but I mean, just you still have to at some point go through the Anansi, assuming that the Thimble Rig player hasn't put it on a completely meaningless server.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is maybe they've put their big ice, counting on the fact that they could Thimble Rig it onto their remote, and now you're taking that away, and now they no longer can protect the remote when they need to, or something. I don't know.
But
this, by the way, in Ag is it's perfect. So good.
Yeah.
Also, good Hush target. Hush is the card MVP of the episode.
Okay,
that's
everybody
it.
play
That's
Hush.
all we got. We're done. We talked for so long about ice. This was really fun, and
we talked for so long. I've cooked dinner.
Yeah,
during this episode.
Literally, Johnny cooked dinner while we were doing this. If you notice an absence for a little while,
it's getting cold.
So
We gotta go.
that's it. Well, this was fun. Thanks for listening. You have been listening to Neon Static. We have been your hosts, and it has been fun. Goodbye. That's a slow fade in.
If you hit the Beano button, will we all turn into Beano?
Wait, I can be Beano? Wait, is this...
Hello? Oh,
It's just Johnny.
it's
God
just me.
Damn it, Johnny.
Bloopers. Bloopers are fun.
I don't know if we'll be able to beat the bloopers we had in the
It's
last
the cold
episode.
open. I forget what they were, but they were pretty good.
It was the best.
It's about jacking in and
Jacking in, yeah.
Patreon 24/7 news cycle. Nats, Matryoshkas, alt arts.
They look cool. There's like some like artist when I was a kid.
Yeah, there were artists when I was
They
a
look
kid too.
like that.
Go on. Talk more.
So listen, guys, when I was a child, people put pen to paper and created drawings.
And then 2 years later, Eric and I were born, and that no longer existed.
Yep, it all stopped.
I feel like a fancy Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is an oxymoron.
That's people responding to that great joke. Jesus.
Oh, this is a trigger. You can't shut that shit off once you hit the button. It goes.
How do you know where all of the good responses are on Johnny's board?
I don't know.
They're just labeled, huh?
They are labeled.
Yeah, they just have names on them. Never mind. That's probably it, huh?
Nice.
Yep. Love it.
We don't need that. Nick does a good one.
Can we use that somewhere? Jesus.
That should be our intro to, I don't know, some competitive topic.
That's good enough.
I didn't realize that, but I thought it was cool when we realized it in the middle of that video record.
We better start recording before Nick can't talk.
You're sure we need to keep all this for B-roll purposes?
Yeah.
All of this is gold that will be used
Right.
at the end of the episode. And now you know, just to be ironic, that's going to be at the end of the episode. Us commenting on how this can't possibly go at the end of the episode is going to go at the end of the episode.
You're like reaching into the future and grabbing
This is
my
very meta.
my face and saying, "Do this."
No, I'm saying don't. He's going to do it anyway.
Like, you know, it's good when somebody says my favorite part of the episode was the last 2 minutes.
I enjoyed after you finished talking about what you thought was good content when you fucked around for a bit. That was the best part.
That stuff. Can you guys just record yourselves fucking around for like a half? Oh, look, we're doing it.
I forget what it was, guys.
This episode's going to be so good.
Professional.
I am a professional, and professionals also obviously forget.